to catch me. I'm praying to catch you whispering.
What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Sharice, and if you're new to this channel, this is Amazing Vibes, and we talk about inspiration, beauty, and lifestyle. And today I will be discussing your season of isolation, why you're going through it, and how you can use it to your advantage. But first, what I want to do is listen to some of these TikTokers. I also encourage you to show them some love on TikTok. Their information will be down in the description box below. And without further ado, let's get started.
I am in a season of isolation right now, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it hurts. Now I know that God separates us so that we can get our heart and our mind aligned with His will, but it doesn't take away from the pain and confusion that comes with this season of isolation. Now, here are 3 things that I have learned so far during this lonely road. I put this on because it's easier to clean my face. Back to what I was saying, here are some of the things that I've learned during the season of isolation. Number 1, although it is called the isolation period, you are not alone. I can't tell you how many times I have sat on my kitchen floor, I've been taking a shower, meditating outside, and I just would cry out to God and say, I feel so alone. I'm not gonna cry. Back to what I was saying. And in those moments where I cry out to God and I tell Him that I'm feeling so lonely, He is so quick to remind me that His presence is everlasting. His presence is covering every single inch of the room or space that I am in. The second thing that I've learned in the isolation period is this is where you really heal. This is where transformation is done. You find your strengths, sharpen those skills, and you ask God to reveal what His will is for you. This is the time where you really pick yourself up and say, okay, what is it that you're trying to show me? How can I learn from the season that I'm in? And the third thing that I've learned and currently am processing, have you guys ever heard of the saying, this too shall pass? 2 Corinthians 4:17 highlights that our troubles are small compared to the glory that we will see when we go through it. And although this season can be dark, there's a quote that I remember and it keeps me going, and it goes something like this. Sometimes when you think you're in a dark place, you think you have been buried when you actually have been planted. I promise you, this is your season of transformation. Be still and let God do His work.
A lot of people can't be alone with themselves. They can't.
Right.
I can be alone with myself. I don't need to talk to nobody or nothing. I can talk to myself and figure it out. A lot of people don't want to face themselves.
Right.
And that's an act of valor. That's commendable. Because through isolation is where we reach elevation. That's when most of my epiphanies happen, when I'm alone. And we need that. We need to go in our cave.
Yeah.
We need to be recluse. We need to go in our cave, and that's where we heal our wounds and lick our scars, and then we come back out that cave. It's time to eat again.
You know that you are elevating on your spiritual journey when you find yourself in isolation. It becomes very hard to be around people because you become so sensitive to energies. You don't want to be outside all the time. You don't want to be in people's faces all the time. You have no interest in being popular. You don't want to be on the phone with people all the time. You just want to be by yourself because you realize that when you stay to yourself and you're in isolation, that's when you experience the most elevation because nobody's pulling on your energy. And you also realize, like, in this world, there's a lot of weird energy going around. When you are elevating on your spiritual journey, you become a sponge for knowledge, and you just want to be alone because you want to learn and learn and learn more and read more. And you really only want to be in contact with people who's vibrating on the same energetic level as you. You're not going to make any more room or time for situations that's not real, for situations that's not energizing you, because you know the path that you're on.
Some of you are going through a season of loneliness. And God says, I orchestrated it that way. Because I don't want folk to take advantage of you when you're weak. He says, sometimes I let you suffer in solitude So people won't see you at your lowest moment. God help me, but when you come out of this, folk are gonna be surprised because they didn't know how lonely it was for you. I feel like I'm talking to somebody who's sitting on your row that doesn't understand isolation is always before elevation. He needed you by yourself.
People that vibrate the highest utilize isolation. People that vibrate the highest energetically utilize isolation. Now, what do I mean by utilizing isolation? Because usually when the average person thinks about isolation, they think about something that's lonely, sad, and depressive. But you see, people that vibrate the highest, they know that if they are productive in their times of temporary isolation, this could be the tool that takes them to the next level. That's like you, for example. You know what it means now to utilize your times of isolation. You have had times in your life where you were alone. And instead of becoming stagnant, you use that time to work on yourself. So that when it was time to come back to your people, you actually came out of that time of isolation 10 times better. That's like you, for example. You understand what I mean when I say utilizing isolation. Because you have had times in your life where you were alone. But what did you do in your alone time? You worked on yourself. And then you came into the awareness that it wasn't until you're still and you're alone that you could actually hear yourself. You finally listen to yourself think, figuring out who you are, what you really want, and hearing the voice of God. But you realize that you actually need stillness. See, let's further clarify this and talk about this. Because the last time that I made this video, people were coming into the comments and saying, oh, well, I've been isolated for 20 years. Sis, that is not what I'm talking about. I'm not recommending that you go to a back of a mountain, live in a shack, and never interact with anybody for the rest of your life. That's not what I'm talking about. What I said is that people that vibrate the highest utilize temporary isolation, because the reality is that human beings were divinely designed to coexist with other human beings. That's how we were designed by God. So you are designed to live amongst other people. But when you get the rare chance to be isolated and be by yourself, this is something that you can utilize as a tool to elevate you to the next level. When you're constantly surrounded by people, they're always in your ear. People always have opinions, and sometimes it drowns out the sound of yourself. But when you finally get still, this is when things will truly be revealed to you. That's like me, for example. For the last couple of years, I was a travel professional. And this is the first time in my life where I truly was alone for an extended period of time. Every couple of weeks, I was going to a different city. And this is when this spiritual awakening or increased consciousness for me really started to take off before I even realized it. Because I guess now looking back on it, it's like, wow, I really have stillness and quiet to think. This is when God started to come into my life more. And my just awareness and my consciousness just started to expand so much. If I never would have went on that journey, I would not be the person that I am today. Because I was always around people. And I never really stopped to think about who I really was, my purpose. I would not be the person that I am today. So telling you my personal story is just to further emphasize to you how temporary isolation could literally work in your life, but you have to be productive in temporary isolation. People that vibrate the highest, they're happy, they're fulfilled, they're magnetic, and they're abundant. When they experience any type of temporary isolation, they are productive in that time. They're not just sitting around waiting for the universe and God to just let something fall into their lap. They're using that temporary isolation to do all the things that they always wanted to do but never had the time to do. Working on their mindset, working on their body, working on their spirituality, just working on themselves. So when it's finally time to come out of that temporary isolation, they're coming out a better person. That's key.
People tend to value everything but themselves nowadays, and that's why it's so important to have the patience to wait until God places the right person in your life. You know, you don't want to spend time having meaningless heartbreaks or avoidable situationships because you just didn't want to do it on his time. You know, a lot of us avoid our isolation season, but fact of the matter is there's a time where you get to grow and you get to learn yourself. You get to figure out who you are. More importantly than that, you develop and you become a different person as the process goes on. So you may look up after your isolation season and the things that you require from a partner are different than what they were before you entered that season of your life. You have to allow for God to take you through that pruning process. Allow for him to show you the intricate, different areas about yourself, different minute details that could build up to something greater. You know what I mean? You may have certain things that are red flags to you down the line that were not before, or vice versa. Something might have been a red flag for you that you learned to have the patience with your future spouse. That's the importance of going through that isolation season when God calls you to. You can't avoid it. All you're going to do is hurt yourself. There's going to be trauma inflicted on you that you could have gotten away from. Some of the things that we go through in life could have been escaped had we been obedient to God's call. We just don't want to face ourselves. It's tough to look in the mirror. You know, it's hard to deal with the things that you don't like about yourself. It takes a strong person to do that. It takes a strong person to cry at night when they could be texting somebody to bring them over. It takes a strong person to go throughout the day and take themselves out to eat. You know what I'm saying? To go get their own nails done or to go get their hair cut and spend their time with nobody. Just get on the game or whatever the case may be to spend that alone time instead of seeking the comfort of somebody else. It takes a strong person to do those kind of things, and I commend everybody who's doing it. But you have to continue to do it until God blesses you with the right person. I'll put it like this. Why would you spend time not preparing for the person who's for you just for the timetable to get elongated? Because all your mistakes are doing is delaying God's plan for your life. Or even worse, it's altering his plan for your life. You know, you could miss out on your initial purpose and he have to move the chess pieces around to make something else fit for you just because you were disobedient. You know what I'm saying? We don't like to accept the fact that we can alter God's plan for our life. Our disobedience can have someone else be called to our purpose. Don't believe me? Look at Moses and Aaron. He called Joshua to fulfill the promise. Won't get too deep into that, but fact of the matter is what I'm trying to explain to y'all is you have to be diligent and obedient when God calls you to isolate yourself. Trust me, you're not going to be alone. He's going to be there with you. There are going to be moments where you fight loneliness, but that's what makes you greater. That's what makes you a better person. That's what makes you a person of higher integrity, a person of higher patience. Because first of all, if you can't be patient with yourself, you can't be patient with nobody else. If you can't love yourself, you can't properly love somebody else. So allow for God to show you what you need to do, what you need to work on, because your partner could be sitting somewhere praying for you and ready for you, but you still have to go through the process of getting ready for them. But the longer that you avoid it, the fact of the matter is you'll never get ready for that person. You run the risk of now God having to alter the pieces to where that person gets with somebody else. So if you really want the fastest route possible for you to your spouse, that route is done by obeying God. If he's called you to be by yourself, accept the call. Because I promise when you meet the person that's for you, that time that you waited ain't gonna seem like nothing. Because you got a whole life ahead of you.
If you find yourself isolated more than usual right now, you should actually feel happy for yourself. When the universe isolates you, it usually means that you're about to level up. 2, you're about to awaken. Why do I say that? The universe isolates you when it wants to get in contact with you, when it wants you to be less distracted, when it wants to be able to contact you and communicate with you directly. Also, the universe will isolate you when there are people around you who may end up trying to take your blessing when it comes. Isolation is a good thing. That also means that you're about to receive some more spiritual wisdom, and you're probably about to have some more spiritual epiphanies. So if you find yourself isolated a lot more right now, I want you to meditate a lot more, journal a lot more, do a lot more spiritual work, because it will be easier to access these Akashic records or these other channels where your ancestors or spirit guides may be.
5 reasons God isolated you. Number 1, you in training right now. Every great prophet who ever lived had to be prepared for the mission. Number 2, God is helping you build strength. You're going to have to be strong to sustain in the place that God is taking you. Number 3, you have entered a new season and everybody is not invited. Number 4, you in discovery mode. You don't know who you are, but now you're about to find out. And number 5, God is making you draw closer to him. He needs your undivided attention. Keep a rich mentality.
If you really want to be a better you, sometimes you got to isolate yourself and go into hiding, sis. Let me tell you why. You know how you go into a room and it stink, right? You can't take it. But the longer you stay in that room, the longer you get used to the environment. Suddenly, you don't smell it no more, but it's still there. We get so busy living life, doing this, doing that we get super complacent and comfortable with our situation that sometimes we can't even see what's wrong with it no more. But sometimes we do actually see what's wrong with it. We just don't have the strength to make a change. This is why isolation is so important. Recently, God separated me from everything for about 6 weeks, from social media, from work, all that. And when I tell y'all, he changed some major things in my life. Major, okay? Major. And it's very clear to me that he just needed to remove some things from out of my face so I can see clearly where my life was at and what changes needed to be made. So sis, if you are on your self-care reinvention journey, make sure you take some time out for yourself and completely remove yourself from social media. Take a little break from work if you can. Then ask God to show you you, because that was my prayer, and please believe he showed me me.
As previously stated in the video, many of you are in your season of isolation. And you are in your season of isolation because God is causing you to be separate. Isolation and separation equals elevation. So in your season of isolation, don't look at it as a negative thing. Don't be sad. Don't be depressed. Don't be thinking lack and wishing you were around people and wishing you had this and had that and you're missing out. And having FOMO. Use that season to your advantage. Work on yourself. Work on the things that you need to work on. Spend time with God. Allow him to tell you what you need to work on, what you need to change about yourself to better yourself so that you can be ready for the further blessings in the future, whether that's marriage, kids, a new job, leveling up in your career. Whatever you need to do to focus on yourself so you can have an advantage when you come out of that situation, that's what you need to be working on, whether it's your health, your weight, your finances, leveling up skills to get a better job, whatever the case that may be. Use that time to your advantage. That is what wisdom is. Use YouTube to learn about things like finances, to learn about how to level up or gain or learn a new skill, instead of focusing on gossip and in other forms of entertainment. That's not doing anything productive in your life. That's not doing anything to bring you knowledge or to help you gain something in your life. It's just passing the time. And you don't want to spend too much time on those things. It's okay to have forms of entertainment and indulge every now and again, but you don't want that to be a consistent thing that you're doing day after day, month after month, year after year, because you're going to look up and you're going to see that other people have been working on themselves and they're going to be light years ahead of you and they have left you in the dust, and you don't want to be left behind. So make sure you're taking advantage of this situation and use it to your advantage so you can move forward and elevate in your life. See, you can delay the blessings that are meant for you because you're not ready. Say you want to meet a man, right? For my ladies, or for my men, you want to meet a woman or whatever you're into, and you're not ready yet. that person's into health and fitness and you're still sitting here being a couch potato, eating pizza and all kinds of junk food, you're not ready, because like attracts like. Water seeks its own level, and you need to be equally yoked in order to draw that person into your life. And you're on two different wavelengths. So if you want to, first of all, you want to take care of your health for yourself. But also, if you want to be with someone that's on that wavelength, then you have to move to that wavelength in order to be able to attract them into your life. So stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So that's pretty much all I had to say in this video. If you like videos like this, do me a quick favor. Just click like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, just remember that you are so amazing, just the way you are, and continue to vibe high. Bye.